Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's just move this up a bit. I always decide to do something as the camera starts. This was what we created in my previous video and I'm just so chuffed with it. And I've now got, let's turn this over, the page on the opposite side, which has obviously got lumps and bumps on it because you've got the pages underneath. But I want to do something on the opposite side that coordinates with this. And I thought we can just use the same methods, etc., but show how we can create something using the same techniques, but so that it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to need a book underneath here. So I'm hoping this will do the trick, because you need something sturdy underneath, because I've got lumps and bumps under there and it's not very sturdy. But just like yesterday, I'm going to start with some of the brown vintage distress oxide, and I'm going to add that to my acrylic block just like we did yesterday when I added the video. There's hardly any water in this. And then we're just going to add this to our page just like yesterday. Just move it around. Look how much just that little bit of ink can give. It's just wonderful. I'm using my A5 Pink Pig journal that I've got online. I haven't plugged in my heat tool, but what's new? Now it's wet, I can move it round a little bit more should I wish. And that's enough on there. So I'll just grab my kitchen roll. There's hardly anything on the acrylic block. We'll just grab the heat tool. I never leave my heat tool plugged in. But the reason what prompted to come up and do this page was I've just been outside because I thought, oh, I'll sweep the patio and I'll clean some mess that the pigeons have made. I went outside. Now I need a new hose because the one that Ian's got me is so unyieldy. It's massive, which is great, but it's too heavy. I can hardly pull it. It's just a nightmare. But I thought, well, I'll clean up the mess. So I cleaned it up. I must have been out 15 minutes. My hands were almost dropping off. It's that cold. So I reeled the hose back in after fighting with it, and I've given up because it is so cold. It's just, ugh, no, it's not pleasant at all. So nope, I abandoned that job and I've come back inside. I don't mind being out in the cold because I've been out in the cold in the garden since October, November, December, January, just revamping the garden and getting rid of dead shrubs, etc. But it hasn't been this cold. Oh, it was so cold. It's taken me 20 minutes to get my hands back to normal. So I've now broken the blank page. So I can start with a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to start with sort of a base line. So that I've sort of got some grounding. So let's have the grounding a little bit around about there. That'll do. So that's just my Inktense pencil. Let's grab a little bit of water. That's Inktense pencil, Chinese ink it's called, and I think it's 2030 in the Inktense pencils, just to give me a little bit of grounding. There we go, just so that my stamping doesn't look like it's floating in the air. And then, just like yesterday, I'm going to use the abstract trees and the little foliage stamp. There we go. And I don't want to create anything too difficult. I can already tell that this is grubby on the back. That means my grubby fingers. That wipe's no use at all because it's completely dry. So I'm just going to give it a clean at the back, because we've had my grubby fingers on there with ink, etc. just means that it'll stick again. And just like yesterday, I'm going to start with the Sand Dune VersaFine Clair. Take that Sand Dune, ink my stamp. So I'm using this one here, just like I did in my previous video. Just going to turn the page a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Let's make sure you can. And then I'm going to just add some of the stamping here. Now I can extend that. Let's move this up a little bit. I can extend that further up should I wish, because this is quite an easy stamp to extend, so it works quite nicely. And we can just maybe have the second generation that you can hardly see, but it's there. And then let's grab some copier paper, which I should get before I even start. So let's grab that piece of copier paper, because you don't want everything the same length. So sort of that's the edge of the page. So now I can, whoops, I can now bring this down a little bit shorter. First generation, second generation, which you hardly see, but it's there. Let's ink that again. So again, I can make things just a little bit shorter and change the direction just a little bit, just so that it looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye. So then I can, let's have a taller one here, just bending it slightly. There we go. And again, you can have that second generation. It's sort of there, but it isn't. You can just see. So I can also, let's make some of it taller. So we can take the same branch and you can actually make this taller. So let's move this book up here a little bit further, and I can make it so that that is taller, because it just works off there straight away. And again, you can add the second generation. Don't want to make any more. So what we can do is, let's ink that again. Let's move that initially. So we'll ink this again. And you can have it coming off. So it's very forgiving. But you can create your own sort of mix of elements. Let's make sure that you can actually see that. Yes, you can. You can see that I've extended that a little bit further. Let me just lift that up. Let's just so that you can see, I've just extended it so it's further up that page. Maybe I should leave it like this so that you can see easier. No, I can't work like that with that bulky thing at the back. There we go. So I'm going to continue with the same little stamp from the Abstract Trees. And I'm going to add some little first, second generation, even third generation. And shall we add some of that darker colour now? So that was Sand Dune. Let's go in with our Portobello. I love these colours. So go in with the Portobello. It's, my watch is telling me it's time to do some activity. I tried to do some activity, but it's freezing. So you can forget that. Right. So let's add some of that darker. And it really brings that to the foreground, which is just wonderful. So just using the same techniques, but developing a different idea, which is lovely. I love doing. Let's face that one that way. You don't have to go all the same way, Tracy. And can you see I've not put the book underneath, so it's not too bad. And let's be honest, that's because I forgot. So let's add the second generation. There we go. Then we'll take the stamping again. So let's have this here. And again, I can use the second generation to come in on the page. You can use the third generation even to come in on the page, because that's a darker colour, so it works quite nicely. Let's have some of that foliage coming in from this side, and again we can add that second generation. The second generation just makes it appear a little fuller. So let's have some coming at the edge here. There we go. So we've got the start of our page, and you always feel better, I think, once you've sort of broke down the page. It always looks better. And then let's grab our clematis like we did yesterday. Let's grab that. So I'm going to use this. I can use the single flower here if I want, but I want this little, the bigger one on that one there. But I have got a separate single one as well. Look at me. Do you think that's a bit crumpled? But I have got this one I like on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try with the sand dune first. So I'm just going to ink the floral up, which is, it's sort of on its own really, so you can just ink that up. And I'm going to just sort of add, I can see that floral, perfect, we should get away with that. So we can just add some more of the clematis and change the direction sometimes. Don't worry about getting the stem of the thingy, because you can just attach it to any of these little wiry stems that we've got. Again, just using that sand dune. Oh, I love this sand dune colour. It was just the colour that we needed, really. Wonderful. So let's just do these three initially so we can see where we're going. Let's give that a dry. And luckily I left the same pencils out from creating yesterday. So what I'm going to do is exactly the same as I did yesterday. And I'm going to just add some of the dark colour just around the edge, just so that we can build that up. And I'm only adding the colour very lightly, because I don't want to press on too hard initially. So we're just adding a little bit of that colour just to the clematis, just to each one. And we're going for something very simple, but just to show that even when you've got the techniques or the idea, how you can develop that into another idea. There we go. So that was black grape. I'm then going to go to the crimson lake. So black grape is PC 996. This is 925, the crimson lake, that I have to look at because I can't remember what colour it is. So just bring in, I'm sure I've made a different size petal there, you know. There we go, not that it matters. And then a little bit of that colour here. I just love seeing the floral come to life. It makes me happy. But again, don't press too hard. And the reason I'm just doing 3 first, then I can, once I've got the colour on the page, I can actually look at the balance of the page. And then I'm going to use Poppy Red PC922, you know, and I find it really relaxing just doing a little bit of colouring. And I'm really hoping for spring really soon, please. I want to get some, well, I've just ordered some plants ready for when we get a nice session of warmer weather. Can you tell I'm hopeful? Because gardening's my other hobby. And I just love being out there and splitting my days between creative and my gardening hobby. Them are my hobbies. I don't go on holidays. They are not my cup of tea. My daughter travels enough for 3 of us. My daughter loves travelling. She's just come back from Thailand and just had the best time ever. Whereas me, because I don't travel very well and I always feel sick and it takes me days to get over it, I'm not a traveller. So my hobbies and my little bit of paradise is my gardening and crafting. And I bring the garden into my crafting pages. And that's what I love doing. And I think it's good. It keeps my mind occupied. So I've got those sort of 3 florals on there at the moment. And the minute I add that colour, it starts to come to life. So I'm going to add a little bit more now of that waxy pencil. So I've got the dark colour that I'm adding. So I'm going in with just a little bit more of the darkest colour. I really do enjoy colouring. Don't give up with your colouring if you're getting a bit frustrated with it. Honestly, it's just persistence. What I used to do years ago is I pressed too hard too quickly. So I had nowhere to go. So it's just remembering not to press too hard too quickly. And just be a bit gentle or gentler when you're adding those layers of colour. And it's lovely how everything just comes to life. And just adding that little bit of colour to your page really makes a big difference. Let's use the Poppy Red then, just to go into all the colours, just to blend all those colours. There we go. I was going to plant my snowdrops. I went to a snowdrop walk, like I said in my video, in my previous video. Can't even plant them. So cold. Can't believe how cold it is. So I've turned into one of them people that talks about the weather. Oh dear. Right, so let's just add a little bit of white detail. And if you don't want to sort of add like the lines like this, just add a few dots and it just gives that impression of a little bit of pollen, which is quite nice. But if we hold this up, let me just hold this up, you can see it definitely comes to life a little bit more with those florals. It really does come to life. Oops, she says, let's bring this in. Okay, so I want to add some more of those florals, and I also want to add a few touches of the red, just a couple of these little bits of stamping that we've done. So I'm just picking randomly some of these little bits of stamping. You don't even really have to come in and add lots of layers because they're just tiny, and it's just adding a little bit of that red just to the foliage-esque type areas. And don't think about it too much, go quite randomly. Let's make sure you can see that. So sort of go quite randomly just to add. So I'm just using the mid and the light colour, which is the poppy red and the crimson lake. So I'm just using them two colours. You could go in if you wanted to with a little bit of the darker colour, but just keep adding just a few little dots here and there of that colour, just to bring in the red just into the lower area as well. And we will add some touches of white to that. There we go. So it's just lovely whiling away just some of that time. So I'm now going to add some more clematis because I've got the basis. I can see, you know, where the florals are. So let's ink that clematis up again. And I'm going to have, which one are you going to have? Come on, think. I'm going to have it that way. And you can see I'm not using a book again, so the page seems all right and sturdy enough. Let's have you that way. So I've got an odd number 5 there. Let's just give that a little dry so that we don't pick that up with our Prismacolor. With it being waxy, it'll, you know, you don't want it to sort of pick up the ink colour. Well, I don't want it to pick up the ink colour. Just establishing where my edges of my petals are. Just adding a little bit of that colour. So let's do the same here. Once you lay down some of your colour, you can then sort of see a lot easier where that colour is going. Oh, that's the thin petal. You know, so draw in a little bit of your petal, then you can just see the edge of it, just so you can see where you are going. Especially if, like me, your eyes go a bit funny. just adding in that secondary colour. I have to say I'm really enjoying this journal. It's lovely. And then we'll take that poppy red and just bring in a little bit of that poppy red. Again, not pressing too hard. Just works so nicely. It really does. The minute you add that colour, once you get the colour down there, you've then got easier. And if you're finding you're struggling to just see the centre, just put the centre-ish in your floral, and then you can see where you need to add the dark edge. So I'm going to come in with my really dark colour now and just add a little bit more of that dark colour. There we go. Oh, nearly picked that one up then. There we go. Once you've got that first layer down, it is very easy. Apart from me that's missed that bit of petal. There. Let's go to our second colour. And just blend our lines out. It is lovely paper to work on. And then we'll come in with our poppy red. Just to blend all the colours. And it's only a small flower, so it really doesn't take much of that colouring. It really doesn't. You can just define your lines a little bit more. There we go. So then let's put in our little bits of sort of pollen. And then you can come in and just add a little touch of white. And you can see now, because I've let these three florals rest, the white goes on a lot easier. Because I've let those rest. Because I was really, you know, I've worked the page, you know, a lot with the pencils, but because I've let that rest, the white really works. Let's just add a little bit of pollen there. Now, these are the ones I've just done, so it's not too bad. So what I can do then is use my darker colour, and I can sort of pretend that the stems are there, just pretending that they belong to this. So they've sort of very lightly, they've got they've got stems very lightly. It doesn't need anything too much. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of shading under these ones. It's hardly any water in there, but that should be enough. I'm going to add a little bit of shading just under a couple of these. Just using my brush upside down, a little bit of shading. Just under a couple of areas. Why do I keep turning my brush the other way? Just blend that out a little bit, just so it goes down to nothing. A little bit of shading here as well. A little bit of shading. You can tell when I'm losing myself. A little bit of shading under there. Let's just mop that up. Let's bring this in, and then I want to just sort of add a little, as if there's a little bit of shadow. So I'm just using that Inktense pencil again. Can you tell there's no water in there? Let's grab my new bottle. I did come prepared. There we go. Let's take that brush again. So I'm just sort of, just so it's got a little bit of some shadows. They don't have to be perfect, it's just a sense that they're there. It's just a sense that the shadows are there. Now I just want to grab, where are you? So then I'm thinking I've got my hair stencil, which is SS2, Snippet Stencil SS2. And can you tell I am longing for spring? I really am longing for spring. I just want to spend time in the garden with my hands in the dirt, as they say. Okay. This is super well used, this one is. Right, do I want it there or do I want it there? No, I want it there. So, let's... You're going to have to bear with me while I faff around. So then I want to grab the same blending tool that I've now put back, which is here. Did we leave hickory smoke out? No, we didn't. So I've got my hickory smoke distress oxide ink, as you can see here. I mean business, my sleeves are going up. And I'm going to take, do I want the grey? Yes, we'll do the grey just to give me an edge. And then I can really add some more colour with the brown. So just adding a good layer of ink. So I'm just going to add a little bit of ink I don't know whether it'll show up enough, but we will soon see. We'll just add a few layers of that ink, just so that we can hopefully, I can see that side, almost see that side. Let's have a look now. So I've got my hair in there, which you probably can't see, which is really handy for you. Not. You probably can't see the hair in there, but it's there. So I'm going to take my vintage photo. And I was going to say, I'm turning my page. I'm going to turn my then the ink is right in the way, but there you go. This is what happens when you've got no space. And I'm trying to make it so that you can see what I'm doing. Not easy. Let's pick up some of that vintage photo. And I'm going to just add a little bit of the vintage photo. Actually, I can't do it like that. Let's do it like this. I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm sorry if it's a little bit difficult for you to see. Hopefully it'll come to life and you'll be able to see the hair pop out the more colour I add. So let's just add a little bit more of the colour. So I'm just going to add a little bit more depth just where the ears. Just so I'll then blend it with the, so this is my Inktense pencil. Just to give me a little bit more of a shadow as I add that brown. Just give me a little bit more darkness. There we go. So then I'm going to pick up the brown, and then as I do that, I'll also pick up some of that Inktense pencil as well. There we go. So I'm just let's pick up a little bit more of the vintage photo. So I'm just using my oxides just to bring the little hair to life. Let's just, there we go. So as I just touch that Inktense pencil, it just gets a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab some hickory smoke as well. Let's grab that hickory smoke and a little bit more water. And we'll pick up the hickory smoke. I've not cleaned my brush, just so that it picks that hickory smoke up. As if like with my pencils, the hickory smoke becomes my lighter colour, just to blend out some of those lines. So what I'm going to do is just give that a dry now. Because then I want to add more layers. So let me just show you. Yes, you can see him now. You see my little hair now? You can see him. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So what I'm going to do then is, don't chuck things down, Tracy. Come back in with my Inktense pencil. Just a little bit darker this time. Just a little bit darker. And initially we'll just, let's grab some clean water, the brush. Then we'll just add a little bit of shading around the outside. It's just, sound like I was singing a song then, round the outside. So I'm just sort of adding a little bit of a shadow, just to give me a little bit more definition. So just blending the darker edge out, and you can see I go back to the water when it maybe gets a little bit too much. There we go. So I'm just going to clean that up, and then I'm going to go back to my vintage photo. Let's pick up the vintage photo now. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that colour now, just to give me a little bit more depth. I'm just using that vintage photo, which brings in a little bit of warmth to the design. You can see here where I've missed a little bit of that. Depth. There we go. Pick up the vintage photo. And then let's just clean that away. Then I'm going to use the hickory smoke. Let me just give my brush a little bit of a clean, because it's definitely more brown. So let's just add that hickory smoke just into the centre. Just to blend the other colours out, just so that I've got the lighter area, but it's a little bit of grey. So then we'll just give that a dry, because we can't really add any touches of white or anything when it's got that on. And again, I'm still wafting my heat tool like this when there's absolutely no need. Hopefully that is dry enough, just so that I can add a few touches of the white. And at the moment it's very subtle because everything is a little bit wet, but we've got those areas there. Let's just give that a dry again. And I'm just going to add some touches of white, just sort of here and there on the foliage, little blobby bits, just to give it a little bit more life. I'm just adding these little touches of white. It really sort of adds a little bit more depth to it as well. Doesn't matter where you add the white, it's just adding touches of that white. We'll come back into the hair when it's rested, and I'm just going to add a little bit of grounding just to that hair underneath. So like I'll keep putting water out and then wiping it up. Just grab a little bit more, just so it's a bit more natural. There we go. And then I'm going to add, I do want a little, I don't think I've got my Posca pens here. I want a red Posca pen now. So let's grab a red Posca pen. Where am I? Have we got a reddish one? If I want red, you can bet I can't find red. What colour are you classed as? Oh, red. That's a miracle. And let's see. I'm just going to add some random dots of the red. Just so it looks a little bit more like there is bits of other plants in the distance. So just adding little dots of the red. I'm just going to add a few dots of white, which you can't see, so I'm just going to add, I nearly did then add my splatters, but I want to add a little bit of text. So I'm going to use TE11. I'm going to add a little bit of text. So I'm going to use, I keep wanting to say plumbago, portobello. I don't know what's up with me. So this time I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of text, and I'm just going to add little bits of text to my page. Oh yes. So I'm just sort of using the edge of my ink pad just to add a little bit of ink, so that I don't add too much ink, just to add little bits of text to the page. So I sort of tilt the ink pad just so I touch the edge of the ink pad on that text. And then I'm just using my finger just to give me a little bit of text. Let's add a little bit down here. Again, just my finger. I don't need to press hard, just a little touch of the text. I'm going to add a little bit down here. I'm quite happy with that. Just a little bit further up, just to elongate the design. It's better. And then I'm going to take a little bit of text and just bring that down here. Just so that's perfect. So that's with the portobello, or the new name that I keep giving it. Let me just wipe that so I can put it back in the packaging, and then I'm not faffing. So we'll just add that to the packaging. I can just put that out of my way then. Just so I'm going to hold this up just so that you can see. We've got little bits of text on there, and it's coordinating with my other page beautifully, just beautifully. I'm going to add some splatters first, because then I'll dry them. This time I'm using my bigger Posca pen. And if you're finding that, you know, you're almost taking your breath away because that you're having to flick so hard, press your Posca pen until that paint starts flowing, and then it's much easier if you do that. It's so much easier. So what I'm going to do then is, so that it doesn't react too much, I'm going to give that a dry. So just give this all a dry, so that the whole page then is dry. This paper is so sturdy, it's lovely. It actually looks like the hair's got a little flower in his hair, or her hair. So now I'm going to go over again and just, now if you're finding it's not white enough, can I find that without having to search everywhere? Let me see if I can find it. That's not what I'm thinking. Where are you? This is the thing when you put things away. Oh, there it is. So if you're finding that's not white enough, I've got some Winsor & Newton gouache opaque white, and it's permanent. So I'm going to add a little bit of this, which I don't need much at all. That tube's going to last me decades. So I'm just going to clean my brush because it's got brown, it's got everything on there, so it's not exactly going to be. Take my fine brush, and then I can use the gouache just to add a little bit more vibrancy with the white, just with a fine brush. Plus it'll give me a little bit more texture. Yes, it's nice and easy with your pens. Just grab a bit more paint on there. There we go. I'm being a bit sort of delicate, I think. So let's just add a little bit more. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white, just a little dot of white to these. Just so it's a little bit more whiter. And you can also add a few sort of little dots to your foliage as well, just so again you've got those nice dots of white. But it's entirely up to you. You know, you can just go in with your Posca pen if you wish, adding layers of that colour and then drying in between the layers. What I'm trying to do is hardly touch the picture and just add a tiny sort of scratch of the white. That's why you can see me going in very carefully. Now, this is highly pigmented because just look at that water. It's just covered in white. So you do have to make sure that you clean those brushes, especially when you use something like the gouache, because it's really pigmented. There we go. Let's move that out of the way. So now I want to just grab, where are you? Is it TE32? So I want to grab TE32 and just grab the hair. And I probably grabbed the wrong hair, but there you go. So it's that one. I should know from yesterday, really. Oh no, it's the wrong one, Tracy. Oh, I want it facing the... Just ignore me. Right, so I'm then going to... Is he going? No, I don't want that one. You can faff as much as me. So I want my black ink pad. Shall I go, yes, no, yes, no. Right, so let's take our little hair, which obviously then coordinates with our stencil. And he's going to be looking here at the whole design. So he coordinates beautifully with our hair. Shouldn't really try and go in, but I'm okay. Just to add a few little touches of white. And then again, we don't want him floating. So let's just blend that out. Just so that it's not floating there. And then I just want, what do I want? Let's have a look. Do you know, I've got that many things out now. So just bear with me while I play around. I'm going to add this here. So I'm now taking the rectangle, oblong, wherever you call it, here from TE32. And I've left the water on here, not good. I'm then going to take my black ink. I don't want it there or here. I'm going to add it here. Which it doesn't take much to press that. And then you can put all the letters, if you wish, onto your acrylic block all in one go. I'm not going to, because I like the sort of organic feel of stamping individually. So I'm going to take the H. I've got water on my acrylic block, like you do with everything else. You literally, you touch that. So we've got the H. This is all from TE32. I'm using the alphabet. Am I going to do it all in capitals? No, I'm not. Just to be slightly awkward. Because I've got upper and lowercase on here. And it doesn't, they don't have to be perfectly straight. It just adds to the organic feel. So don't worry too much. And don't press so hard that you squish your letters. And I'm trying not to go LMNOPQR, but I can't help myself. Because when I've got an alphabet stamp set, I go through the alphabet. It's just me all over. Don't hold your letters over your project. Make sure that you stamp sort of away. From your page. There we go. So you could have put all the letters straight away onto your acrylic block. No problem at all. There we go. Just wonderful. Move that out of the way. And then again, just to give this a little bit of shading underneath. And bad idea, because then you can't find your brush because you've just plonked it somewhere. just blend that out so that you've got that. Wonderful. And then a few more splatters just to bring a few splatters to the hair and the sentiment area. There we go. We'll just give that a dry so that we don't pick that up and then put our hands into any Posca pen. We'll just give that a dry, a little bit of a waft dry. And then if we bring in our vase page, so this was our vase page from yesterday, so chuffed with that. And then we've done a coordinating page on the opposite page to coordinate. So I hope you've enjoyed that and you'll give that a go. Let's place that there so that you can see. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.